Okay, fine. So I told that when you classify your steam turbines, so I made around 6 to 7 classifications based on the starting with the type of operation to, or maybe the last one was based on the frequency or the speed. Okay. Now, but we'll be concentrating on mainly three types of turbines actually. One is the impulse type. Okay. One is the impulse type. So what happens in an impulse type? The the kinetic energy, the kinetic energy is absorbed as the steam flows in the rotor. As the steam flows the rotor. Okay. If this happens, it is called as an impulse turbine. So we can give some examples. As I told, the best example what we have is the D-level turbine. D-level turbine, steam turbine. So most of the 99 of 100 times in steam turbine, this is what they use. Okay. The second one is the reaction turbine. Okay, the reaction turbine, where both the kinetic energy, that is partly the kinetic energy, and we call it as a pressure energy or pressure head. Okay, pressure energy is absorbed, okay, as the steam flows the rotor. So this is how the things happen. So some of the examples, if you like to look at actually. So we have the Curtis turbine, the Curtis turbine. This is one, and maybe the Parsons turbine with 50% reaction turbine. Parsons turbine. It also falls under the category of impulse reaction. So then Raichu turbine is what it falls under, your impulse reaction turbine. So this Parsons turbine 50% reaction turbine. It's a very famous turbine which is used. Next, the third one is the impulse reaction turbine. Impulse reaction turbine. So here what will happen actually? Here the kinetic energy and the pressure energy are absorbed in stages. Okay, the kinetic energy, the kinetic energy, and the kinetic energy and the pressure energy are absorbed absorbed in stages. Absorbed in stages. Okay. If this happens, it is called as a, and this is the most commonly used. That is the best example we have is the Raichu turbine. Okay. So the Raichu turbine falls into this category, even though it is a reaction turbine, but it is an impulse reaction turbine. Maybe if you want a little bit of information history on this, actually, maybe you can you go to the internet, you can search for it. So what are this reaction turbine? Who was the inventor? All these things. Maybe Curtis turbine was Charles Curtis. Maybe Parson was Charles Parson, and Raichu is actually maybe Augusto Raichu. So all these things, inventions actually, if you want to look at, you can look into that actually. Now, when you look at this steam turbines actually, what does happen actually? So how the steam turbine will work, how the enthalpy this thing, we should know a little bit of pure substances. You might have studied in your undergraduate course. What will happen? I'll be having a water taken at some temperature. Just for try to look into formation of a steam. I'm going to take water at certain temperature, 20 or 30 degrees, which is called as a feed water. In the boiler, the heat is supplied. I'm going to get a dry saturated steam, and dry saturated steam will go to the superheater, and there it gets superheated, and then it gets expanded in the turbine, then it comes to condenser. So if you want to look at actually, So let me look at the steam power plant, steam power plant block diagram. Steam power plant block diagram, what it is. So now here, so I have different blocks actually. So the first block is the your boiler. Okay, it is the boiler. Okay, this is the boiler which will be receiving the feed water. Okay, so feed water from a pump. So I will be having a pump which will be supplying the feed water. Okay, so now from the boiler what will happen? It goes to, see here, it goes to superheater. So it goes to superheater. It goes to superheater. Then from the superheater, it will go to your turbine. This is your turbine. Okay. To the turbine, I am going to connect the load. That is your generator or whatever it may be. I will be connecting the load. And from the turbine, it is connected to the condenser. So this is my condenser. Then it will come back to your pump. Okay. So what are the where are the places where you will have high pressure? So here it will be high pressure. Okay. Your pressure is high here at the boiler, and here it will be low pressure. So the places where your pressure is high, only your condenser and your pump will be seeing a low pressure and also low temperature. Low pressure and low temperature. Okay. But your boiler, your turbine and all will be seeing a high pressure, high temperature. So what will be your superheated steam will be off in the order of around 300 bar or 350 bar, around 600 degrees Celsius or 800 degrees Celsius, something like that. So what we try to do actually most of the times, this turbine is insulated so that the heat loss is almost negligible. Heat loss, okay, insulated. Never ever call it as heat loss is zero. Heat loss is negligible. That means if it is a power plant of 100 kilowatts or 100 megawatts, so if the heat loss is in few kilowatts, 2 or 3 kilowatts or 5 kilowatts, 10 kilowatts is negligible compared to the megawatts, the capacity of the turbine or capacity of the power plant. Okay, that's it actually. This particular steam power plant will work like. Okay, now what is one more thing which is very important here actually? The most important thing is your Moliere chart. How to look into your Moliere chart. So that you should know actually how to read it. So enthalpy entropy diagram. Enthalpy entropy diagram. Enthalpy entropy diagram. What is it actually? It's an HS diagram, okay, which you might have studied in your undergraduate course, okay, HS diagram, where enthalpy is on the y-axis and you have your entropy on the x-axis, okay, entropy on the x-axis. So this is for a steam turbine, maybe for a pure substance, you might have studied. Now, for this kind of steam or your pure substance, what we will be having seeing in the HS diagram is a dome. This is your saturation line. So you will be seeing a saturation line, or which is also called as a vapor line, or it's a completely on this particular line your condition of the steam is completely dry. Now other than this, what else I could see? I could see a constant pressure line. So they will be going like this, okay, then they'll become more steeper, once it crosses the your dry saturated line. So these are your pressure lines. So constant pressure lines. And these pressure lines will be like this. Then similarly on the same thing actually you will be having a constant volume lines like this. Okay, the constant volume lines also will be going in this fashion. So these are constant volume lines. You can just have a look into those lines actually. These are constant volume, or it is also called as specific volume lines. Constant volume lines. Okay. Other than this constant volume lines, what else is there? Okay. Now you have, see, if suppose this is the point of your maybe critical point, let me call it as this is CP. It's a critical point. So what I could see is actually dryness fraction lines. Okay, dryness fraction lines will be coming from this particular line actually. So the dryness fraction lines will be going somewhere like this. Okay, this is where your dryness fraction lines will be coming. Something like this. Okay, these are called as X, that is dryness fraction lines. So X will be somewhere around 0.95 are here. So X will be 0.9 somewhere here. These are called as dryness fraction lines. Okay. Then one more thing is there, that is your constant temperature lines. Okay. The constant temperature lines. How this will be going? This constant temperature lines will be going in this fashion. Okay. So the constant temperature lines will be going in this fashion. It will be going like this. It will be going like this. These are constant temperature lines. Okay, these are constant temperature lines, which are also which will be above your superheated. So those are in the superheated region. Okay. Now, what why this particular enthalpy entropy diagram is important? Whenever I try to take the steam or maybe steam turbine actually, I will try to look at how this particular steam turbine is expanding. So the steam turbine is expanding from a particular point. Say if I tell that the steam turbine is expanding at some pressure, here 0.1, next maybe I will tell the temperature is some 350 degrees at a pressure of 5, maybe 50 bar, something, and it is expanding isentropically, something like this, to this particular point. It will come to this particular point. So what it is expanded from a pressure P1 to pressure P2 isentropically. So if I use an entropy and enthalpy diagram, so I'll be able to directly get the values of those values directly from your steam tables, or sorry, from your Molière chart. So how to get it actually? Draw an horizontal line at point 1, see like this. So if you draw an horizontal line here, okay, draw an horizontal line, you will be getting your enthalpy 1. So draw an horizontal line here, like this, you will get H2. Just like what you did in the nozzle actually it's an expansion here. But one more thing is here actually, we will be looking at the condition of the steam, X value, all those things. So constant temperature lines, constant pressure lines, constant volume, we will be looking at the specific volumes also. So entropy diagrams for your steam turbines is very, very important. And you should be very much aware of it. And few more things which are very important here. So those are, we call it as, see, why we do this compounding in steam turbines. Okay, compounding in steam turbines. I have different types here written here. So compounding in steam turbines. Compounding. Why we do compounding in steam turbines? Can anyone tell me why we do compounding? You had studied in your earlier courses.
Sir, basically, why we do the compounding means like initially the pressure of the steam will be very high, sir.
Hmm.
If we enter the turbine blade, actually it can have some certain RPM. Above that, it cannot able to run, sir. So when we do
Yes.
compounding, what happens means at each stage we are going to divide, sir.
Okay, fine. See, compounding is the method of reducing the rotational of the speed to working limits. That's one thing. How it is done actually? We will try to arrange the set of stator vanes and the rotor vanes. Okay, we will try to arrange this particular. So by having these stages, so rather than having a single stage, compounding means going for number of stages. That's it. Okay. So compounding is done. So it is done. It is done to reduce the rotational speed. Rotational speed of the turbine. Rotational speed of the turbine to working limits. Working limits. And the second point is actually, so the compounding is done with the help of going for, that means arranging the stator and rotor, okay, in series, which is called as stages, okay, and key to common shaft. Okay, it is all in a common shaft. Now, what will happen when I go for a compounding? Okay, so if you look at the compounding types, actually, what we have, what will happen in case of a compounding? Compounding means already we see that we have told that I am going to reduce the speed so that within the limits, because if it expands at one go, I'll be getting an uncontrolled speeds actually, and it will be balancing. We have a lot of difficulties. Okay. Now, when I try to do this compounding, what are the type of energies we are dealing with? We are dealing with the kinetic energy, we are dealing with the pressure head. So now what we try to do, we are trying to absorb this pressure and velocity, okay, in this stages. Okay, if you try to absorb pressure, if you try to absorb velocity, if you try to absorb both pressure and velocity combined together, okay, depending upon that, I have three types actually. And most of the time this compounding is done in impulse machines. Okay, majority of the time, very rarely we do it in the reaction machines. So there it is only automatically this pressure, velocity, and pressure energy and kinetic energy automatically it takes place, because the energy, so this is nothing but, so the pressure, if you speak of pressure compounding, so I have put a simple sketch. Yeah, you look at it actually. What will happen? I have arranged a set of, see, I do have the first thing is the rotor, first thing is the nozzle, which is also a stator, followed by a rotor, then stator, then rotor, then stator, then rotor and stator. So I have a set of stator and rotor is called the first one stage. So first you have three stages and I have a stator at the exit. Okay. Now a set of a stator and the rotor is called as a stage. Now, what will happen? In case of a pressure compounding, I'm speaking of only the pressure compounding, the first type, A. This is a sketch, what I'm showing is for the pressure compounding. So, if you look at it, the pressure the entry is at a very high pressure, and the pressure drop takes place only in the stator. That means your pressure energy takes place or pressure remains. See, if you look at the rotor, see where is the rotor is this particular point. Let me, you look at this particular portion is your rotor. See this particular portion, what I am, look at this particular portion, it's where this is the portion is the rotor. Okay, this is also a, sorry, this is your rotor. Look at this, what's happening in the rotor. Okay, in the rotor, what's happening? Let me write that actually. So, in the pressure compounding, okay, in pressure compounding, what happens? In pressure compounding machine, the kinetic energy, see, in the rotor, what will happen? Okay, in the rotor, the kinetic energy is absorbed. The kinetic energy is absorbed. Look at this actually. That means, see, look at this, this velocity is getting reduced. Okay, only in the rotor, this velocity is getting, that means a velocity from higher velocity to lower velocity. The kinetic energy is absorbed. So what's happening to the pressure? This pressure is almost constant. So the pressure is constant. Pressure remains same in the stage, or pressure remains constant, or we can call it as the pressure energy, or pressure remains same. Such a type of compounding is called as pressure compounding. So in the pressure compounding, the kinetic energy is absorbed in the rotor and the pressure remains same in the rotor. Okay, what is this pressure means? So pressure compounding means pressure is kept constant in the rotor. It's called as pressure compounding. Okay, now we'll come to the second sketch, that is velocity compounding. Okay, so velocity compounding. So I have put a similar kind of sketch here. So let us try to look into this velocity compounding. I have a set of nozzle, rotor, stator, rotor, stator, rotor, stator. Now look at this pressure. See, the pressure is absorbed, that is pressure is, see, pressure is absorbed in the nozzle, or the pressure is completely absorbed in the nozzle and is almost remained constant throughout the rotor, wrote the same through all the stages. Okay, the pressure remains same through all the stages. But what's happened to the velocity? The velocity is getting absorbed only in the rotor, and in the stator it is remaining constant. But what happens used to be happening in the pressure compounding? The velocity was increasing. Okay, in the pressure compounding, the velocity was increasing in the stator, but in case of velocity compounding, in the stator, the velocity is kept constant. Okay, velocities remain same in the rotor. Okay, sorry, it remains same in the stator, and the rotor absorbs the kinetic energy. Let me write that. Okay, so rotor, the kinetic energy is absorbed. Okay, then in the stator, the velocity remains constant. If you look at for the previous case, stator, the velocity increases. So velocity increases. Here velocity remains constant. What happens to the pressure? The pressure remains constant through all the stages. Through all the stages. And this is called as velocity compounding. Okay. Now if I'm able to do this in couple of maybe in stages in such a way that if I do it for a couple of rotor stator for few stages, if I do velocity compounding, for few stages if I do for pressure compounding, it becomes a mixture of it, and that is called as your third one, what is called as pressure velocity compounding. The same activity, look at this. So what's happening here? See, this is the pressure entry. So the pressure entry is here and pressure decreases. That means the pressure drop takes place in the nozzle and it remains same, just like your velocity compounding. Then it goes down to the next possible pressure, that is go to maybe your atmospheric or whatever it may be, then it remains same. Now what happens here, actually the velocity keeps increasing here, then it gets absorbed, then it remains constant, so then it almost gets absorbed, then in the nozzle it is getting increased just like in the stator, then it gets absorbed, it remains constant, then it decreases. So a combination of both pressure compounding and the velocity compounding, if it done simultaneously, I'll be getting what is called as pressure and velocity compounding. As to a part, actually the pressure remains constant, then you people have to explain. So this particular thing you have to explain how what's happening. So first, see, this may be first couple of stages. See, in case of steam turbines, you first stay, maybe it may be a low pressure stages, high pressure stages, something like that, or high pressure stages, then low pressure stages. So such things, based on this particular thing, will be going for pressure compounding or velocity compounding, or a combination of pressure and velocity. If the more number of stages are there, so definitely for an impulse machine we will be going for a combined pressure velocity compounding. If the number of stages are maybe 2 or 3 or 4, then we'll be sticking on to either pressure compounding or velocity compounding, depending upon the type of the pressure. See, the whether I have to go for a pressure compounding or velocity compounding depends on this, depends on the very high. Say if I'm going for, if the pressure is very high, if the pressure is very high, okay, something around 450 bar, 550 bar or 650 bar, then the type of compounding I'll be going for is a pressure compounding, because I have to bring down the pressure in stages. At the same time, if the pressure is around 150 bar, 120 bar, something like that, comparatively, when I compare with 550 or 600, 150 is less, I'll be going for velocity compounding. So depending upon how I need to convert your pressure, so I'll be taking up the task of whether the choice of whether going for a pressure compounding or a pressure velocity compounding. Is that clear? Okay. So now, anyhow, see, we need to see, anyhow, we are going to study something about the impulse turbine and reaction turbine, all those things. Now, what differences we can bring out? See, comparison of this impulse and reaction turbine. You might have studied in your undergraduate course. An impulse machine means I'll be having the velocity will be, the jet will be impinging on your rotors. Okay, steam will be coming out of the velocity at a very high, at very high velocity and impinges on your rotor or rotor vanes. Okay, but what happens in case of a reaction turbine? So I am not using any nozzle, but I will be using what is called as a guide vanes. So the guide vanes, or we call it as a stator vanes, are just, they will be deflecting the steam. Okay. Now, when you come to the your what you call impulse machine, the profile of the blade should be symmetrical. The reason is no pressure drop takes place in the rotor. But the profile in case of a reaction machine is should be more of like an aerodynamic. It should be more like an aerodynamic, or the passage should be looking like a convergent divergent, because why that particular thing, the pressure drop is taking place in that particular on the rotor, so it should be it should be like maybe what we call it as aerofoil, maybe aerodynamic, okay, aerodynamic cross section, because I should ensure that at any given point there is no question of adverse pressure gradient. If I don't design it like an aerodynamic shape, there will be adverse pressure gradient which may lead to formation of fakes. Okay. Now, when you come to the impulse machine, kinetic energy is just absorbed and just efficient, and it has been proven to be efficient. But the reaction machine, it's purely combination of both kinetic and your potential or pressure energy. So comparatively, the efficiency is less with respect to impulse. And because of the high velocities in an impulse machine, you should have very close clearances. What is clearance actually? The gap between the rotor and the stator should be very, very tight. It is just, if you imagine that, 1,000th of a millimeter or 1/100th of a millimeter. So that is the gap we expect. See, the gap between your rotor and stator, where it is rotating, it will be of that close. Okay. Now, see what we call it as, that is, we call it as actually blade tip clearance. Blade tip clearance. So it should be close, very, 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 very close. Very, very close in case of your maybe a reaction, because maybe in your impulse machine, it's directly striking the blade. Okay, it's directly striking the blade. But in case of reaction machine, what will happen? It is between the stages. The steam should not easily escape. It should transfer the energy to the blade, then it has to go to the next stage. It should be through the blades, because I am not impinging. So I need a very, very tight clearance in case of reaction. Maybe tip clearances is not that. Maybe I need a tip clearance in case of impulse turbine also. It need not be so tight. So 1/100th of a millimeter, what I told, if it is the value for a reaction machine, it can be just simply in terms of millimeters in case of a impulse machine. Okay. Now, when you look at the pressure stages, okay, so you have high pressure stage and low pressure stage. Okay. So now, if I towards the impulse machine, what will happen when I go from high pressure to a low pressure? That means the subsequent, as the steam flows towards the lower pressure stages, the efficiency will slowly drop.
So I
But
think there is some problem.
hello, what happened?
Your screen is completely blank.
What happened? It's fine, no? Any issue?
No, your screen is not visible.
No, screen, I have not written anything. Screen, I am not
Okay,
writing. I'm
okay,
just trying
fine.
to explain, because
Okay, fine.
I'm not writing. I'm not writing anything. I'm just explaining.
I thought
Okay,
you
I'll
were
try to
writing
write this.
also.
No, 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 I'm not writing. Okay.
Okay.
Now, when you speak of a reaction turbine, you are sealed. So because of the tight clearances, actually, what we use actually, we may have to use some kind of a seal material. Okay, we may have to use some kind of a seal material. The seals are used in your reaction turbine, and the seals has to be replaced periodically, because I need a very close gap between your rotor and your stator. The seals, usually carbon seals, or maybe if you go for a gas turbine or steam turbine, there is labyrinth seals actually. So these honeycomb seals. So these seals will give a very, very close tolerance, and the pressure drop between this one stage other stage will be very, very less if I go for the seals. Okay, so we'll try to look into this. This, what are the things, whatever I told, no, we'll try to write and see what is this actually. So comparison of impulse and reaction turbine. So comparison of impulse and reaction turbine. Reaction turbine. Okay. So impulse machine. So impulse on one side, the reaction on the other side. If I try to bifurcate with a line, so let me write one by one. Okay. An impulse means actually it has fixed nozzles. Okay. It has the fixed nozzles. So the steam exits at, as I told, steam exits at high velocity. Steam exits at high velocity. But in case of air, steam just flows over the stator vanes. I don't need any nozzle. So stator vanes. This is the first difference, comparison. The second comparison, the blade profile, if I take the blade profile, because of the steam directly striking the blade, it should be symmetrical because it has to strike at the center. Because one more reason is actually there is no pressure drop. There is no pressure drop in the rotor. There is no pressure drop in the rotor. That's why it has to be symmetrical. But for the reaction, maybe for the reaction turbine, the blade profile has to be aerodynamic. It has to be designed aerodynamically. The reason is actually, if I don't do this, actually there is a pressure. See here, the pressure drop takes place. The pressure drop takes place in the rotor. If I don't do this, the designing to aerodynamic shape, there is every possibility of getting an adverse pressure gradient, which will lead to formation of wakes and all. Okay. The third difference here, because of the kinetic energy is absorbed, because of the kinetic energy, the absorption of the kinetic energy is much better in the rotor. It has been found to be more efficient. So comparatively here, in case of maybe reaction turbine, efficiency is less due to only absorption, due to the absorption of only pressure energy, due to absorption of the pressure energy. Pressure energy. The fourth one, maybe when I speak of tip clearances here, so the tip clearances, what is it actually? The clearance between the rotor and the stator. The rotor and stator has to be very, see, I need to see it has to be very fine. The tip clearance has to be very fine between the rotor and stator. So the tip clearance here, it can be coarse. It need not be very fine, the 1,000th, 100th of a millimeter need not, it can be a few millimeters also. Maybe the last one. Okay. Here, so the low pressure stages, as the steam flows from high pressure to low pressure, that means the last stages are maybe as the steam, so last stage is efficiency will drop. Efficiency will drop. But here, what will happen? See, because of the use of seals, okay, because of the use of seals, the pressure drop, what are we called? The pressure drop is reduced. The pressure drop is reduced. The low pressure stages, the efficiencies might remain same. This is what it's going to happen here. Okay.